Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
A lot of people are thinking about cashing in on their single-family home. The frustrating thing from a realtor side in the last few months is properties are going to sell. You can list it high, you can list it low. It is going to sell. And market values are up, in some cases, 25, 30% comparatively to last fall. What we want to talk about today is the 3 most important questions to ask a realtor prior to listing your home. And these can make the difference between maximizing the sale of your home or selling relatively mediocre.
Yeah.
And this is happening every single week, and I really want to bring light to this. We see it weekly. It is very frustrating on the buyers and or working with buyers on the buyer side right now when realtors maybe do not communicate properly, do not open the door for showings, cut off showings, and all of that. So as a potential seller this year, if you're thinking of selling your single family home, your townhome, the markets that are extremely active, I want to make sure that you get the answers to these 3 questions to maximize the sale of your home. So number 1, this is a really, really important part of listing a home in any market. In busy markets, it is extremely important because properties sell very quickly. So the goal of a marketing campaign with any listing is to get more eyes on the property. So my first question that I want you to ask your realtor is, how do you market my listing? How do you market my home? Posting on MLS is great. That's where a lot of serious buyers are looking. But if you're going to be on market for 5, 6, 7 days, how do you ensure that you're not going to miss a potential offer, a potential buyer, someone who's going to rate subject free, well over asking, and potentially $50,000, $100,000 higher than the next best offer? So I want to know, how do you market? And we feel like we've come up with a really good system in the last few years of maximizing exposure through social media, through targeted ads, through our organic reach on social media, but maybe touch a little bit on what we do extra outside of MLS. And to give you some clear numbers, on MLS, a single family home that photographs really well, that looks good online, is going to get 300 to 500 views in the first week, maybe a little higher in markets like this. Yeah. Maybe a little higher in markets like this, maybe 500, 600. But how do we maximize exposure? How do we get more people to see properties?
So just to touch on the marketing there, I mean, in this kind of market, what we've experienced in 2021, the range of possibilities for a listing is quite wide.
Huge.
So, as Denny is chatting about here, that the price have gone up, say, 20% in a lot of cases from before. But if you launch a listing week by week, a home that might be priced at 1.5, the range of possibilities of sale price for that could swing 100,000 either way. Yeah. So, I think there's like arguably a 10% range in potential sale price, depending on how the listing, the timing, and the marketing, and all the steps that lead up to that offer presentation. So, marketing is step 1, because that's, when you're looking at offers, if you don't like them, you're going to question your marketing, and you don't want to question your marketing at that time because it's too late. You only have one chance to create hype and momentum and interest, and you want you're hoping for the best. So, back we're in 2021. Back in 2016, when the market was like this as well, we started this approach where we would get photos and we noticed everything was selling in a week, and we also noticed there was a lot of disappointment phone calls after the sale, and it was just rushed for a lot of buyers. You had to be on it, and a lot of interested buyers might miss out if they just missed watching the MLS for a few days. So what we started doing back then was we would do photos and video, floor plan maybe a week or 2 prior to listing. And we would do a social media push a week prior to listing so that we would get, hopefully half a dozen inquiries, or a dozen in some cases, right when we list, so that we have the most interest when we hit the market. Difference between 2021 and 2016 is I think the response on social is much lower than it used to be. An ad 5 years ago on social media would get a lot more attention than it does today. So there's a little bit more noise out there. But overall, there is value to telling the story of your listing a week or a few days before you hit to give some people preparation.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this for years. So, I guess our audience is a little bit used to it, that we start sharing stories and posts. But the whole goal here is not to miss a buyer. And the whole goal is to, with social media, you're also trying to get buyers that may not know they're buyers until they see your listing.
Totally.
Outside of marketing, I mean, this is one of those strange markets where timing is just as important. I mean, you can have the best marketing plan, but if your marketing plan involves, okay, you know what, we're gonna do print flyers and we're gonna push it on social and we're gonna start in mid-April and we're gonna launch in May 1st. If your marketing plan involves maybe launching the listing a few months out, we don't know what the future has to hold. So the only thing we'll caution is you can have the best marketing plan, and sometimes just the timing matters more. You could list it in I've seen some sales in the last 30 days where certain homes were the only option on market in their area in that price point. And so the one exception, marketing, you can't control the timing. You don't know you have good timing until it happens. You can control your marketing, but arguably a lot of the conversations we're having are, is it worth delaying the listing when we know there's little supply today?
Totally.
Yeah.
You obviously can't control that. You can't control if the week that you list 4 of your neighbors within 2 blocks list as well. We can't control that. What we can control is how much time, effort we put into photos, video, how good those look online, and how much exposure we get through that marketing material. And regardless of timing, that is a box that we want to make sure that our team checks every single listing. Regardless of timing, regardless of property type, we want to make sure that we give it as much exposure, that we get as many eyeballs as possible to see it in that week, 2 weeks, if we're doing coming soon, plus the just listed week, in that 2 weeks as possible. It kind of leads me to the next question. And so more exposure means more eyeballs on listings, often means more phone calls, more inquiries, and more showings. So the next question is, how do you handle showings? And obviously with this coronavirus, this pandemic life that we're living, it's been a bit of a juggle for a lot of realtors in the last 12 months. And people are handling it differently. And so if I'm selling my home, this is a really important question for me to ask a realtor so that we do not miss a potential offer. We do not miss potential showings of people that could fall in love with the home and write subject-free offers and potentially give me as a seller more money than the 30 that we're cutting it off. So this is happening still weekly, all the time, is realtors are listing properties. They're advertising showings on Thursday from 5 to 6, Saturday from 2 to 4, Sunday from 2 to 4. First of all, any busy realtor has showings at that time, so it's impossible for us to be there on the buy side. Second of all, they're only doing one showing every 15 minutes. And so in a 2-hour window, what is that? That's 8 showings. If you have a busy single family home, like how many showings did Dory get this week? 40, 35, 40?
It was over 30 anyway. Yeah.
And that was maybe a little bit of a higher price point, but the entry level price point, like a lot of properties, a lot of locations throughout Greater Vancouver are getting 50, 60, 70 showing requests in the first 2 days. So that's a super important question for me. As someone who's selling, I want to maximize the value of my home. I want to make sure that nobody misses it. So that's one thing that I really want to make sure that my listing agent is doing really well. Yes, being cautious and keeping people apart and having hand sanitizer and like all these protocols that we've been talking about for the last year. But I want to make sure that people get in the door. So if those showing windows need to extend by an hour or two on a Saturday, Sunday, or add a showing window on Monday to get extra people who maybe got cut off over the weekend, I want to make sure that they're doing that.
I had an instance for a client that was inquiring on a house in Langley, and at the time they inquired, I reached out to the agent because they had showings 1 to 4 both days. Perfectly respectable window. But they were spaced 15 apart, and this was an underpriced listing that was getting a ton of interest. And at the time, let's say I inquired in the morning, and they had 4 p.m. available on Saturday. And I didn't get a confirmation from my client until the afternoon that they were available. So by the time I reached back to the agent, I was like, oh, no, now it's 6:30 is the earliest time we have. And in the time that it took to get confirmation of 6:30 worked for my client and went back to the agent, by then 6:30 had been taken and it was 7:30. So essentially that agent was showing the home from probably 1 to 8 p.m. on Saturday by having showings 15 minutes apart. If you have a very attractive product that's getting a ton of interest, you can get away with 10-minute apart, sometimes 5-minute apart showings if you have different groups on different levels. Mm-hmm. So the whole point is you get, the way that we've done it in the past when we have a real busy listing, you get one group in the top floor. When they're done the top floor and they go to the bottom, then you let the second group through. They're in completely different sections of the home. It allows you to get a little more traffic through in a little more reasonable time. But we understand the challenges. It's, if you do them 15 minutes apart, just be prepared to be there a lot to show the place. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I would advise is keep in mind the end goal of good offers and clean offers. And if the showings, if you're accommodating showings late and buyers' first experience in the home is in the dark, they're going to want to see it again in the light. They're not going to see it as well. So, recognize that most buyers want to see a home in daylight. Recognize that most buyers want to have all the information available and do their due diligence to put in a clean offer. And if showings get pushed back to, like if you're looking at offers on a Sunday night and you can't show it until Saturday night or whatever it is, you're not giving the buyer enough time to see it under all conditions and do their due diligence properly in some cases. So just overall, I think 15 minutes apart for certain products are leading to 8-hour showing windows on the weekend. And a lot of people are seeing it at times that they're really going to want to come back anyway to see it again.
Mm-hmm. On that, like being accommodating is so important. And so if you have these really strict guidelines of one showing per 15 minutes, and I'm cutting showings from after this window, no more showings, you're going to miss people. The next part of that is allowing people to do pre-inspections. A lot of homes are selling subject free. 85%? Most single family homes right now, entry level price points anyway, let's say in the suburbs of Greater Vancouver, under 1.7, 1.8.
I'd say 87.4% to be exact.
That is extremely accurate. And he does have stats to back that up, yeah. Well, I had one realtor last week who our client did a pre-inspection. There was 5 pre-inspections. They had 50-something showings over the weekend. He was so flustered with how busy it was that he told me he's just not doing pre-inspections anymore. I'm sorry, no more pre-inspections. I got a listing next week, no pre-inspections. How is that at all beneficial to the seller? What's beneficial to the seller is allowing people to do due diligence, is allowing people through the home, is allowing people to make strong offers because they know any maintenance items that are coming up after doing their pre-inspection, and then they're writing subject free with deposits attached and probably writing more money because they have a list of maintenance items from their inspection and they feel really confident about that. If you do not allow pre-inspections, 1, people are going to put subjects. 2, they're probably not rating as high of a number. And it's really frustrating.
I mean, overall from showings, you don't want to miss a showing and you don't want to miss a subject-free offer, or you don't want to miss an offer, period. Mm-hmm. But by not accommodating inspections, you're more likely to get that offer that could have been subject-free that might have a subject now.
Yeah.
And I mean, overall, you don't want to leave anything on the table. And so how do you be certain of that? Well, 1, everyone that inquires to see the property gets in the door. 2, you leave, after they've gotten the door and seen the property, you leave an option for them that is reasonable to do their pre-inspection, like a Monday. So try not to look at offers on a Sunday night, for example. And by the time offers come around, you have a little more confidence that, well, these buyers had a chance to do an inspection, everyone got in the door, and this is the outcome. And you're a little more confident that when that happens. So showings, aside from getting them in the door and offers, also having the information available, being there when it matters, and addressing concerns so that buyers have all the information they have to write those offers. Mm-hmm. You don't want to leave anything on the table, Denny.
That is the goal, Jamie. That is the goal of maximizing value. And question number 3, this probably is the most important one. The first 2 can result in more people seeing the home. The last one, handled really well, can absolutely result in more money, in your seller selling for more money and them being pumped with the experience. How do you handle multiple offers? Because we are seeing a little bit of everything right now. We are seeing list on a Thursday, have 7 showings on Thursday afternoon, get 2 offers Thursday night, property sold, which is not beneficial for the seller. We are seeing situations where single family homes are getting 20 plus offers. We've written offers on them and we don't hear from the agent for 3, 4, 5 hours. And we get a text saying, oh man, that was crazy. Sorry, it's sold. Like no update. We have no idea going in how many offers there are. We ask them, let's say their offer deadline's 5 p.m. We ask them at 4:45. They say, it looks like 6. And then 4 hours later, after a few texts and phone calls, we hear back from them saying, wow, we ended up with getting 24. Our offer is going to change if we are kept up to date on what's going on. So this to me, handled well, multiple offers handled well, can easily, guys, and it sounds like an exaggeration, but it is absolutely not. It can easily result in an extra $50,000 to $100,000. And in some cases, more than that. There's multiple scenarios that we've run into in the last few months. And going back to 2016, there's lots that I can remember of multiple offers handled poorly, or taking offers just any time versus setting a date on a really busy listing, resulting in a sale price that is underwhelming. And in a market like this, a home that shows well, that has a good floor plan, underwhelming is never a word that you want to hear.
Especially if another house pops up a week later and sells for $100,000 or $200,000 more. But I mean, to recap there's 2 real important points when it comes to offers in this kind of market in most situations. And one is holding off on looking at them, giving ample time to get people in the door. If you look at offers on day 1 or day 2, my assumption is you're leaving money on the table. 99% of the time, there are always exceptions, but this is just such a strong seller's market for detached and townhomes that if you want to be certain you're getting true market value, you got to hold off on offers. To get everyone through the door. And secondly, proactive communication when offers do come in. A lot of reactive communication happening or a lot of lack of communication happening. And I get it. I've had my cell phone on the listing and I see the storm of inquiries and calls that come in when you have a hot one. But still, it is at offer time, that is the most important moment for that sale, for that seller, for that listing. Mm-hmm. And even the offers that are out of the running, I've had cases where the lowest offer just revised it and came up to the highest offer. So there are always anomalies and exceptions that sometimes people just start low and they're willing to come up a lot. And overall, I think the strategy that our team has, and Denny and I particularly, is just proactive communication with everyone that offers. Mm. We like to let everyone know that you can call us, you can text us, and we're also going to give you feedback if you're completely out of the running, just so you know how many offers come in and that your clients aren't waiting up all night for the outcome. There's I think a common courtesy that needs to be more prominent here, of recognizing how many, when you have multiple offers on a listing, how many buyers and realtors are on edge waiting for some sort of answer, and just giving them that relief. It would be nice. It would be nice to not keep people up until midnight or not keep people guessing until the next day.
It's a really easy phone call to make. And my strategy is collect offers. Let's say it's 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., go through the list and call everyone and tell them exactly what's happening. Hey, John, 45 minutes ago, I told you it looked like 3 or 4. We actually have 7. So if you'd like to revise your offer, you have 20 minutes, go for it.
Oh, and we'd really like it to be subject-free with these dates.
But you're letting people know immediately. And you talk about this anticipation and anxiety that buyers go through, and it is real, people. Like, we're getting texts behind the scenes if we have clients offer on things that are like, hey, do you think we're going to find out by 7? Do you think we're going to find out by 8? What's going on? I want to know.
buyers agents need more guidance than ever.
Yeah.
A lot of buyers are frustrated. They're missing out on multiple offer situations where, oftentimes we're kind of guessing on prices within a certain range. And not that, there are limitations. You don't give them all the information, but there's the right way to give feedback when offers come in, aside from just updating them on exactly how many and when they're going to expect an answer and all those logistical things. There's a right way to just give them some guidance and saying, hey, you need to improve.
Well, on that phone call too, if it's a subject offer that is, let's say, around list price and we have 3 or 4 that are subject free well above, that conversation is, hey, thanks for your offer. We actually received 7. There are a few that are much cleaner and much higher. So like if you guys want a chance, they'd have to improve significantly. Otherwise, we're going to be moving forward with someone else. And people love hearing that right away, right? They're not waiting 3, 4, 5 hours. They're not like staying up all night, wondering what's happening, thinking that there's still a hope if they're literally just not even close.
No, a lot of cases, like, say you get a dozen offers or 6 or whatever the number is, there's usually 1, 2, 3 that rise to the top and the rest are just not in the picture. Let the rest know they're not in the picture and let them move on with their evening.
Yeah.
That's particularly, we had a listing in North Surrey that had 20 offers the other week. And that was an incredible, overwhelming amount of communication, but everyone did receive communication, even in those crazy moments. Mm-hmm. And the people that were in the final running received the communication when it mattered. So even in those cases where it's an absolute zoo, there's no excuse not to be courteous to realtors, let them know, give them some sort of feedback so that they have a clue where they stand.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I like that, man. I was wanting to share this for a little while. I wrote down these questions a week ago. I did a video on it yesterday. I think it's super, super important. And if you are selling a home this year, I want to make sure that you have a clear understanding from your realtor on these 3 things. How do you market? How do you handle showings? And how do you handle multiple offers?
Yeah. And I think how do you get the most out of the offers too? And that's by, Denny, there's a number of tactics there. But essentially, the benefit of multiple offers is the front running, the best offer in some cases could be significantly better than the second best offer. In that case, usually you take that offer and you don't mess with it. But in a lot of cases, when offers are close together, there's an opportunity to get more. And when you're in a multiple offer situation and you have 2 or 3 buyers that are all competing for it, that's an opportunity to go back and say, hey, you're close. Would you like to improve? And give them another option to improve. It's frustrating from the buyer's end, but recognize that conversation alone is a positive thing because you're getting that chance.
You know what's more frustrating from the buyer's end? Not getting that phone call.
Not getting that phone call. Yeah.
And then the listing agent calling you and saying, hey, you guys are really close, it sold. And the buyer's saying, we would have gone above that.
Yep. And that happens. So
often.
So, yes, from a buyer's end, it's frustrating getting that phone call back saying, they're trying to squeeze more out of us. They're not giving us a number, counter us. A lot of cases, the listing agent shouldn't be counter. You can't counter. You want to leave it open. You want to have a firm and binding you want to have a contract that the moment you sign it, it is sold.
Exactly.
Anyway, Denny, I hope we've so that is marketing, showings, and offers. How do you handle those?
3 most important things in 2021, Carl.